What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Instant Reaction Podcast for the Florida State-Boston College game. This is the Plant Spear Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse, and welcome into the show. Florida State moves to 4-0, 2-0 in conference play with an absolutely dominant win over Boston College. 44-14 is the final score. Florida State was very dominant in this game, literally from the opening kickoff. Trey Benson takes it back 93 yards for the first kickoff return for a touchdown by Florida State since Kermit Whitfield's famous return in the national championship game. I also heard the broadcast mention this was the first opening kickoff of the 2022 season that's been taken back for a touchdown. So that was really nice to see. Oddly enough, we actually talked about in the last podcast that I thought it was time to give maybe somebody another look back there at kickoff return position, and they did it, and the very first one, it turned into a touchdown. So that was nice to see. It's nice to see Florida State special teams be able to make an impact. I think Florida State played very well in all three phases. I think the coaching was very well, and the game plan was very well on both sides of the ball. I will say, obviously, of course, we have to couch a few things, knowing that it is Boston College, and they are not a great team, and they do have a lot of struggles. They've lost to Virginia Tech. They've lost, who just got housed by West Virginia. They lost to Rutgers. I do understand that, but at the same time, like, you're still handling your business like you're supposed to. The spread was, I believe, 17.5 at the time of kickoff, and you won by 30. So really, I mean, it was an absolutely dominant win. You're talking about Florida State puts up 530 yards of offense and holds Boston College to 235 yards, which a lot of that came in garbage time too. So you handled business and then some tonight. And that's the kind of dominant wins that really get you noticed, really make some noise. And I do think Florida State will be ranked come tomorrow. I don't think there's 25 teams in the country that right now are playing better than Florida State. You had some teams in the top 25, Florida and Miami. Texas lost, so you have some room above you. And I do think Florida State's going to come in tomorrow in the top 25, and deservedly so, because you've gutted out a win against LSU, which was a good team, and they're continuing to look better each week. So that win looks good. And then you have Louisville absolutely dominated, just blew South Florida out of the water today. I think it was like 41-7, and that was a team that almost upset Florida, almost took Florida to overtime in the Swamp last week. So that win does look a little better too. And then you come out and you beat a team like you're supposed to. This was Florida State's biggest win over a Power 5 team in quite some time. They beat Duke, I think, by like 20-something in 2020, and that was really the last time they blew out a Power 5 team. So just to see them handle a team like this from start to finish in an absolutely dominant form was really impressive. And I mean, guys, this is a different team now. This is a different program. They play different. The expectations are different. I think it was a beautiful sight to see Doak really in its true form tonight. It was packed, it was loud, it was rocking, right at 80,000 people. I mean, it's just one of the best college atmospheres in the country, especially when it's something like that. And the fans showed up and showed out, and they got rewarded for it with a dominant performance. And I know there was a lot of recruits on hand too, so I mean, this had to look great, especially a day where Miami gets embarrassed at home in front of about 1,500 fans who were booing them half the game, and Florida drops one to Tennessee on the road. So it was a big win for Florida State. This literally might be like one of the best weeks for Florida State that we've had in years. I mean, we started out with Blake Nicholson, a 4-star linebacker commit earlier this week. Then you get a 5-star receiver in Hakeem Williams in the boat. You're just feeling good about everything, and then you see Florida lose, and then you see Miami with just an absolute embarrassing loss, and then you come out and have just a dominant performance over Boston College, an ACC opponent. And again, I know they're not great, but it's still an ACC. It's a conference game, and you blew them out. So it was just a great week for Florida State in general. Like, man, it feels so great. Like, the momentum in this program right now it's just unremarkable. Now, of course, you got some tests coming up. This is where the hard stretch comes. You got Wake Forest coming to town next week. They put up 45 on Clemson today, which, I don't think Clemson was as good as a lot of people thought they were, but, they still put up 45 on a good defense. So you're going to have to come to play next week. But what we saw from Florida State's defense is encouraging. I think the secondary played well. I think the defensive line actually had a pretty good game. Patrick Payton looked good out there. As a young guy, he's got some pretty good pass rush moves. I thought Briggs inside had a decent game. You saw some things that you were, like I said, you were encouraged about, knowing that when you get Fabian Lovett back, when you get Jared Verse back, and I really hope they're back for the next few games, but once you get those guys back, that's only going to lift this defense a lot more, because those guys really are, like, when they're not on the field, that presence is noticeable, there or not. And so when you get them back, that's really just going to elevate this defense to another level, because those are by far your two best pass rushers. And you haven't had them for really 2 weeks now. So that's something to watch going forward. I thought the linebackers looked well. I mean, Kalen DeLoach is really making a name for himself. He is just all over the field. He is such an amazing athlete, and just watching him play is so fun. He is like I said in the last podcast, he's like a heat-sinking missile flying around on the field. And Tatum Bethune again, Brendan Gant, and just you see so much, like I said, to be encouraged about from this defense, even against Boston College. And the thing was, like, their passing game averaged about 250 yards per game. Florida State held them to 140 yards, and a couple of those came in garbage time. So even if it's a not great team, you still held them to over 100 yards under their season average in passing. You held them to 4 of 13 on third downs, 95 yards rushing, which was a little more than their season average, but still, I mean, they got a few things going, but really Florida State just was absolutely smothering on defense. And this defense is so fun to watch to me, because they really do fly around to the ball. They really do have, like, impressive team speed. They close well, and they tackle well, and they hit hard, and they play with intensity. So they're really fun to watch. I think they're going to get tested over the next few weeks, but I think that this should give them some confidence to rise to the challenge. Again, I hope you get some of your guys back, namely Verse and Lovett. But I just the momentum again that Florida State feels right now is something we haven't felt in such a long time. And then you look over at offense, and Jordan Travis has his first 300-yard passing game after really we didn't even know if he was going to start. And at one point last week, you weren't sure if you were even going to have him the rest of the season. And he comes out tonight and has a really great performance. He goes 16 of 26 on the night for 321 yards and a touchdown. And again, he still really is not even running the ball. He had one carry for 16 yards. And now he's using his legs for some elusiveness, which is nice to see him do. And he's a really special just playmaker quarterback. But we really haven't even seen him run at all like we had the past few seasons. So there's still some things left in there that we're not even seeing come out yet, which is even more encouraging. And, we talk about this receiving core all the time, and, man, these guys just look different. Like, this is the difference in this offense, having receivers who can go out and make plays like this. Portier had another just awesome, amazing catch in the end zone, really just kind of dominated the DB and took the ball from him. Darian Williamson came out of nowhere, had a 98-yard game on 5 receptions. He did leave with injury, so hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he'll be back for the next game. But it seems like with the receivers, just different guys stepping up every game and having almost or over 100-yard games. So that's really nice to see. You have depth at this receiving core. You have playmakers here. And you saw a lot of nice catches tonight. Michael Pittman got involved tonight. You saw Ontario Wilson had a nice game as well. So these guys just have really stepped up to the challenge, and this offense is legit. You cannot deny this offense is legit with Jordan Travis at the helm. Hats off to the offensive line. I thought they did a really good job tonight. Jordan had a lot of instances where he had a great pocket to pass from. He wasn't pressured a ton, and it was encouraging to see. I think they had a really good night, and the progress that they've made under Alex Atkins and just with the guys that they've got through the portal and everything. And Robert Scott didn't play tonight, but you had some guys step in, and even the guys who came in late, they still had a pretty good game. Some of the younger guys that were getting some reps, I saw Armella out there as well. So it was nice, and these guys are playing at a good level. Now, of course, BC doesn't have a dominant defensive line, but really neither does Wake Forest. So you're going to get tested against NC State and Clemson, who do have a good defensive line, but you're not going to see a great one next week either. And if they can do, again, what they did tonight and give Jordan time, I mean, you realize next week's probably going to be a shootout anyway, just given the offenses. But to see Florida State put up 44 points, now you're thinking, okay, well, if they get in a shootout, I mean, they got a good chance. This offense can score, and honestly, at times it looks easy for them. You see Jordan Travis out there at quarterback just smiling ear to ear while he's playing, and it's just so fun to watch. So, again, congratulations to him getting his first 300-yard game tonight. Tate came in behind him, 3 of 3 for 29 yards, and it was nice to see Tate get a standing ovation as well. Your backs had a good night. Trey Benson, 10 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Trayshawn Ward, 14 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown as well. Rodney Hill, the freshman, he came in really late. He continues to look good, though. Toafili didn't do a whole lot, but he only had 4 carries on the night. But still, I mean, again, this offense put up 530 yards now tonight against Boston College. They put up 630-something yards against Duquesne. They put up almost 400 yards in a couple other games. So, I mean, they've really seemed to find something on offense, and I think Norvell is having really good play calling, really good game planning. Of course, Atkins gets credit for that too, and again, was such a dominant performance. We have not seen Florida State come out and play to this level in a long time, and I think they fed off the home crowd, they fed off the momentum, and they just started early, and it was from literally the opening kickoff all the way to the end. They just absolutely beat up on BC. So really encouraging to see. You got a big one again coming up next week, and I don't think Wake will be ranked now. They did lose to Clemson in overtime or double overtime, so they may cling to like 25 just because Clemson's ranked so high. So you actually may be the only ranked team in that one. It may not be a ranked matchup, but still, you do get Wake Forest at home. It's going to be a test. And, I'm just really excited. This is such an encouraging performance from Florida State. This is such a fun team to watch, and it was such a good environment tonight. It was just like such good vibes for Florida State in general, and this is something that this team, this fan base, this coaching staff, and just everybody in Tallahassee has needed for a long time. So, of course, just go out, enjoy it, and hopefully they get ready for the big challenge next week. Then you got to go on the road to NC State, and then you got to welcome Clemson into Tallahassee. So Florida State's really going to have some chances in the next few weeks to make some noise on a national stage. I mean, if you go 3-0 in that stretch, if you go 2-1 in that stretch, you're going to find yourself in a really good position, especially when you look at the rest of the schedule. I mean, look at Miami. Goodness gracious. They got absolutely just whipped by Middle Tennessee State, which it was nice to see Florida State alum get that win over Miami. They were in control pretty much the entire game. Middle Tennessee State was, and you really Tyler Van Dyke got benched. Now I will say their backup Garcia, he actually looked better. He did give the offense some spark, but how long does that last as a backup quarterback? Once people get some film on you and start watching some things, but that game looks a lot better than you thought before. Florida played pretty tough against Tennessee, I won't lie. They played better than I thought. I thought that game could get ugly, and it didn't. But still, I mean, they're kind of racking up some losses and some close games, so you feel good about that one. And Georgia Tech got killed again today, so you kind of definitely feel good about that one. I think Louisiana was losing at to ULM at one point last I checked, so that's looking kind of good. And Syracuse, they continue to win. They're still an impressive team, but again, you go through the schedule and you feel good about every game on it. Now, of course, and I hate to say this because I keep saying, well, Florida State has to come out and play inspired football and play their A game every week, because normally you expect letdowns, but they do. Like they come out and they play a high level of football every week. And I think that a lot of that stems from Norvell. You see in these videos that come out afterwards, like the cinematic recaps and stuff like that, and when you see him talking in the locker room videos and stuff like that, he's such a passionate guy. He's such a vocal head coach, and he really does fire these guys up, and they just play so hard for him, and they play so hard for each other. and that counts for a lot. This team, just the way they come out, firing on all cylinders, ready to hit you in the mouth, you're going to win some games you're not supposed to, and you're going to dominate the games that you are. And, as long as they keep coming out and playing like this, the sky really is the limit for this team. I know, I said most likely 8-4 with a ceiling of 10-2, but again, I think every single game on the schedule is winnable if you stay healthy and you continue to play like they are. So we'll just we'll wrap things up. We'll wind it down here. Florida State just gets an absolutely dominant win over Boston College, 44-14. They really looked good all the way across the board. Offense, defense, special teams. Obviously, you had a missed extra point. I mean, guys, I don't know what to do about the kicker. I mean, they do. I heard somebody say that the walk-on does actually have a pretty big leg, but I still think they're going to stick with Fitzgerald. Mike Norvell didn't seem too interested in kicking field goals tonight, and obviously we see why. Even the one Fitzgerald made was kind of sketch. It almost missed, but at least he got one. So that's really your biggest vulnerability right now is just your kicker. That's it. Everything else looked great. I mean, no complaints from me. Offensive line, quarterback, receivers, running backs, defense, everything looked good. Game planning and all that. So just the kind of win we haven't seen for a while around Florida State. And, this just wraps up one of the best weeks for Florida State fans that you can ask for in a long time, with the commitments, with the rivals losing, with you winning, and man, what a week. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and enjoy your Sunday tomorrow. You can hopefully gloat over some fans or some family or somebody, and just enjoy this big win. I'm actually pretty excited. I get to I live right around Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm going to the Panthers game tomorrow, and they play the Saints. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for Jameis to beat the Panthers, so that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. It's just going to be a great week. Going to be a great week. Hopefully, get to close it out. We're seeing Jameis get a win there too. So, what an awesome week for Florida State. This is something this whole fan base and team and everything have been waiting on for so long. And you saw it tonight in the crowd. You saw it in Doak Campbell tonight. You saw it in just all the momentum and the team and the way they performed. And you just got to keep snowballing this. Just keep rolling it, keep snowballing it, and keep winning it and looking good on the field. And, your recruiting's going to pick up. And man, this is just – it feels like a dream. Like, I know I sound like I'm kind of stuttering here or whatever, but it's unreal, the turnaround from last year to this year. It really is. And I understand that a lot of the games last year, they were close in, they looked good in, but it's almost in a situation sometimes, like I'm looking at when Florida State's up 37-0 at halftime, and I'm like pinching myself, like, is this real? Like, is this really happening? Because honestly, seriously, it's hard to let yourself your imagination run that wild. Florida State looks like a top 15 team, if not higher, just given some of the other things we've seen. So, man, it's almost a strange place to be, but I really enjoy it. So, I'm just happy for the big win, and I'm looking forward to the Wake Forest game next week. So, we'll go back and we'll catch you guys next week with a little more in-depth review and a look ahead to Wake Forest. And, so just enjoy this win. Just enjoy Florida State being 4-0 for the first time since 2015. Enjoy a program that you can really cheer for and be excited about, and a great group of guys who go about things the right way. So, man, it's all good vibes for Florida State right now. So, hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks, and go Noles.